And hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we want to pick up where we left off. Let me close this first. Yeah, we want to pick up where we left off. So yeah, we want to implement this IComponent repository with all these methods such as create component, populate components, get all components, update components, delete components by the component object, and delete components by the ID. Okay, so yeah, this is what we want to do. Okay, we also have a clear all components. Okay, but before that, I want to point out something. Few videos ago, I introduced this concept called the this concept, which this is this keyword, the this dot keyword, which is highlighted here on my cursor. This refers to the instance of the object itself. Okay, I kind of removed it during the course of debugging to find out what was wrong with the ASP.NET Core forms. Okay, but because this keyword called this here is not something I will usually use, but it's a good way to say that, yeah, I'm referring to this property of this object, and I specify it by using the this what do you call that, the this command or this keyword right here. So I removed it during the course of debugging to see whether it was the cause of the bug. It was not the cause of the bug. You can still use the this keyword, but in this case the this keyword here is optional. Okay, but that's not what we need. Okay, so I'm just going to :bd to close this file so that I will not use it. So I'll have a v split up, and next what I want to do now is to start using the implementing the component repository in RAM. Okay, so how do I do this? Okay, so let's start. Okay, so first thing first, I'm just going to copy over this interface. Okay, why am I going to do that? Okay, I'm going to yank this, I'm going to paste it here. Why am I going to do that? Because it makes it easier to type. Okay, so I'm going to change this from interface to class, and now I'm going to call this class what? Component repo RAM, and I'm going to put a colon here which says it inherits from, or in this case the more proper word is called implements. It implements this IComponent repository interface, this interface called component repository, and this component repository RAM actually stores the data inside the RAM. Okay, so what do I need to make this work? Let me close this because it's a bit irritating. Okay, what do I need for this to work? I need to implement all of these things, and for us to start, we will actually need to use the actually need to use the component list file. Okay, let me change this to the component list file, which is over here. I'm going to save this, of course. The component list file is what we are going to use to perform the dependency injection. Okay, so what are we going to do? Alright, we're going to do okay, we actually store the list right here as a singleton thing. Okay, we store the list right here as a singleton. We use it as a singleton object, and what we want to do is yeah, we want to perform dependency injection, which means we want to take this whole component list and we want to put it inside the component repository, or the component repository here, because we are going to use this list very often, and we are going to make edits to this list object within the component list class. Okay, so I'm going to inject this component list class here using a standard dependency injection. So let me open up a new line, and then I'll put component, okay, public component repo RAM. Okay, so this will be the constructor, which is the first function that any function that will be executed once the class starts. And what will be this function? Okay, it will just, all it does is to take in this IComponent collection, and then component collection, and let me set no wrap, because that's better. Then I'll open a new line. component collection. So what will I do? I will have a property here, a public property called the component collection. Okay, or private property, private IComponent collection. Okay, component collection. Okay, so this will be the private property. Okay, which is 1. So okay, I will say the component collection equals to the component collection here. Okay, if I want to use this keyword that I was talking about just now, and I call both of these component collections, right? So if I want to assign a value to this specific component collection using this component collection right here, I can use this keyword, like right here, to differentiate both of them. Okay, this is what I can do. Or if I want to really make it clear, you can use this underscore, and then it should work nicely. Okay, so this is how the dependency injection thing should work. And if you want to make it even more, I suppose, easy to use, okay, let me open up a new line. Did I just mute myself? Yeah. Let me open up a new line, and I'll call this public. I will say that I will have an explicit list of components. Okay. I'll call this component list. All right. And I can say this dot component list because I want to access this specific component list. What will I do? I will say that this component list can be the component collection. Okay, and then the component collection has a property called list, so I'll just use this property called list right here. Okay, I will assign this value component list, this specific value component list to this component list right here, so that if I want to view anything, yeah, it should be fine. All right, so yeah, so this gives us a way of accessing the component list within IComponent collection a lot easier, so that I don't have to write so many dots down there. All right, so this is one way of doing things. So with one dependency injection, I actually inject two things. I inject this component list into this component collection right here. I also inject the actual list itself into this public component list right here. Okay, and yeah, this is how I can do it to make life a bit easier, because the actual list I want to modify is within this component list class, so I want to extract that out. Okay, so what do we want to do? First and foremost, the first thing we want to do is learn how to create components. All right, so create components, very simple. Well, we'll need to take this component and then add it to our list. Okay, so I can say this dot component list dot add component. Okay, so where is yeah, the list class should have an add. Okay, list class should have an add. You should have an add method. Okay, you have an add method right here. Okay, add what do you call it? This add method actually adds an object to the end of the list. Okay, so that's what it does. This component dot add component, but this is the thing here. Okay, I can say this component list will add the components. Alright, I'll just say this component list we add the components. So what are we doing? We are adding this component here to this actual component list. Alright, but this component list here isn't the one that is saved inside the singleton service. It is this component collection here that will be saved inside that singleton service. Okay, so this this component collection here, this is the object which we are saving everything to. So we'll kind of need to so-called perform something. Okay, normally we will need to have this component collection list. Then we use the add. So if you want to do it in one line, instead of using this component list right here, we will say this. Okay, I will change in Word, component collection list add component. Can you see this is a bit long? This is a little bit long. I can of course take away this keyword right here. It will still do the same thing, but yeah, this is actually a little bit long for us to do. Okay, and I don't like having like 3 or more dots within one statement. Okay, and I prefer, sometimes I like to have this. I like to have the keyword this right here. Okay, so instead of doing this, I'd rather make changes to this component list right here. Okay, it's just a preference thing. You don't have to do it. Okay, component list right here. So I add it to this component list here, and then what I do, I will make a function. Okay, let me change this access modifier to public first. Oops, undo. Open, undo please. Insert public, so it's public void create component. Okay, so instead of doing things like this, okay, the create component is a function within the interface. You have to make it public, but under the hood, we can have a few private functions. Right here, I can actually implement these functions operate under the hood. I can make a SaveChanges function. Okay, why am I doing a SaveChanges function? It is to get you used to the way entity framework call works. But what does a SaveChanges function do? Okay, private void. I'm just going to have SaveChanges. Okay, so this is not something you will expose to the interface. Okay, so what does this SaveChanges function do? I will say that this component collection list. Okay, because I have this. Yeah, I will have a component collection right here. I want to set no wrap. Okay, I'll have a component. Oh, wrong one. Component collection right here, and I'll have this specific list. Okay, so this component collection list will be equals to what? This. Okay, so I want to set the list within this component collection to be equal to this public list thing right here, which I will just constantly update using my methods. So equals to this component list. All right, that's all. That's what a SaveChanges function does. Okay. Okay, so this is a SaveChanges function. So after we add this component to the existing component list right here. Okay, so we are so-called staging changes for staging a change. What after that we need to do is just do this .SaveChanges. Okay. All right. So what am I doing? I am having a two-step saving thing. I'm adding the component to this component list first. Okay, that's the first step. I'm adding this component here to this component list here. So that is step 1 of making the change. And then step 2 is to change the component collection list here. Right, this component collection list. Okay, I will assign the value of the updated list right here. So that's doing a save change. SaveChanges. Okay, so that's what we are doing when we have a SaveChanges. So get used to this kind of a thing. All right. Same. So this syntax, this way of doing things is pretty similar for the list right here, or we can use we can actually do the deletion as well. Alright, so let's see. How can we do this? Alright, let's see here. Yeah, we'll do the deletion part first. Okay, so I'll do the same thing. I'll open up a new line, and then of course I'll delete the semicolon, and then I'll put the curly braces in, and then instead of using the add command, we'll use the remove command. So word www, and then change in word, remove. Okay, there should be a remove option. Remove. There should be a remove method. Okay, so see, there's a remove method right here, which it should be fine. So that's what we are going to use, and then after that we save the changes, which is to yeah, exactly do the same thing. Okay, so that is the what we can use to delete components. Next thing is the how do we delete component by the ID? Okay, so this is a little bit more challenging, but we can use this thing called okay, we will use a function called FirstOrDefault if you want to select something by ID. So let me open the FirstOrDefault thing right here. Okay, so yeah, it says it returns a first element or sequence or default value if that sequence returns no elements. So how do you use the FirstOrDefault? Okay, so if you take a look at this example right here, okay, you use the FirstOrDefault if this thing is like a list, or this thing is an array here. This is not a list, but I mean, you can use the same. You can use FirstOrDefault the same way for a list. So yeah, it's looking for an object, or it's looking for one of the elements inside this names list or names array, such that the property of the name or what is equal to something. So this is some kind of a logical test, and this thing can sort of mean such that. Okay, it will look for the FirstOrDefault object such that it meets, such that okay, this condition is met. So what is this condition? Here this condition is the length of the name is more than 20. So you're looking for long names. That's why it's looking for the first name such that this name length is more than 20. Okay, so we can use a FirstOrDefault similar for here. I'm going to use another of those under the hood functions. Okay, I'm going to call this component. Okay, okay, public. Okay, it's going to return a component. It say getComponent. Okay, and then going to get it by the ID. Okay, so what is this component? All right, this component here is this .component list. All right, I'm going to of course component have a declaration of a variable first. I'll call this the desired component. Okay, so the desired component, it will be equals to desired component equals this okay, component list. I will use the FirstOrDefault method. So it's capital F, capital O, capital D. Okay, FirstOrDefault something. FirstOrDefault what? Component. Okay, such that the component is what? The component dot ID equals to, okay, component ID equals to what? Okay, the ID which we supply here. See, this ID we supply here. Okay, so let me take a look at my Git to see whether it, okay, so this is how I use the FirstOrDefault. This is for example, instead of components, I have an order. Okay, this is what I did with my experimental branch. Okay, I will have a so-called a list of things, enumerable of things, or list of things, it will find the first or default something. So, okay, in this case, this is an order such that the order ID equals to ID, right? Same thing here. This component, okay, this get component thing will be, okay, I think I'll use this a private, because it's not supposed to be interacting with the outside interface. So this get component function or method is supposed to get an ID. So this object is called desired component. So the desired component is the first or default component inside this component list that meets this condition. Okay, component is such that component ID equals to ID. Okay, all right. So, and then I'm going to put a statement here because sometimes this desired component is not going to be found. So I say if desired, all right, I'm going to put an if loop here. Okay, let's see. Okay, never mind. I'm just going to use it anyway. I'm going to use it straight. I'm not going to have an if loop there. I'll just say return desired component. Okay. So this is what this code here does. I'm declaring a variable called desired component. This desired component will be set such that it will be the first or default component that meets this condition. That means the component ID will be equals to this following ID right here. Okay, and then of course we need a way of specifying the ID that we want to use to delete. And then once I have this, I can put it inside the delete component by ID. Alright, delete component by ID. Alright, so how do we delete the component by ID? First thing first, I'll declare a component called deleted component to delete. Okay, very long name, but it does what it says it's supposed to do. The component will be called component to delete. And what will be the component to delete? Component to delete equals to this dot get component, and then I'm going to fit in the ID right here, component ID. Okay, and then after that I'm going to call the delete component function by component. Okay, so if, okay, I'm going to put my if loop here. If component to delete is not equals to null, then I will start to delete the component ID. So this dot delete component by the component to delete. Okay, I'm going to expect some bugs along the way, but that's the thing. Okay, so I hope we are getting less and less errors so that we can actually start using this thing. All right, so let's keep implementing things. Okay, and let's hope this thing works. Okay, so not only do we I think after we delete the component, this SaveChanges method should work. Okay, so this is if we delete the component by ID, we will do this component delete blah blah blah, and then I will run this delete component by the component. Okay, I'll be running this function right here. Okay, so I'm not getting any complaints regarding a delete component, so that should be good, I think. Oh, it says component repo RAM does not implement interface member. I cannot implement it because it's not public. Okay, I forgot to specify these access modifiers here. It should be public. I'm just trying to reduce the errors so that I know what to do next. Okay, and then this should be also public. Okay, now the error should be gone. All right, so let's keep going. Okay, clear all components. This should be pretty easy. Okay, I'm going to press a capital A to go straight, point my cursor straight to the end. Put an O here. Okay, so this dot component list dot clear. Okay, there's a clear function for lists. Okay, there should be a clear function for list. Okay, it says it removes all elements from the list. Okay, so I have to clear the list, and then I'll save the changes. Okay, so this is clear all components. Again, I will need to make it okay, let's see. Insert void. I'll put a public right here. All right. Alright, so let's see. There are a few more things that we need to implement. Okay, there's a populate component and clear components. So these two need to be implemented. Okay, these two need to be implemented. What else? The create component has been implemented. The list has been implemented. Okay, so let's do the update component. Okay, update component is, I guess, a little bit more tricky. So let's see whether there's an update, because okay. But okay, the way I like to do update component, it's a really crummy way, but it should work. Okay, what I do is literally I take the component ID, I delete that entry, and then I update. I use the new entry to put it in. So what am I talking about? Okay, so I'll say this component here, this component ID should be equals to this ID. That's the first thing. The ID equals to this ID, just to make sure that we are both talking about the same ID. Okay, so this component ID will be equals to this ID. Then I will delete the existing component there using this ID, right? So I will delete component first. I will delete component first by delete component by ID first. Okay, so this dot delete component, I'll do it by the ID. Okay, so that should save the changes and get everything done. Okay, and then I will add the component after that. Okay, this dot, where's the create component? Create component here, create component by the component, by the ID. Okay, so this is a very crummy way of doing updates, but it should work. It should work. Okay, so this is how we do the update components, and of course I need to change this now to public. Okay, how long have I been talking? 29 minutes. Okay, I'll try and finish the other components and then I'll be done. Other functions and I'll be done. So okay, get all components are very simple. I will just give this existing component list, this component list. All right, I will just return that component list. Okay, return this dot component component list, and that's how it does. And then I will of course have to change it to public. Oh, it's already public, so okay. Then last but not least, I'll have populate components. Alright, so what do I need to do? Okay, populate components. Well, I will need to make some junk components like I had before. Oh right, I'll just use the populate list function, which is already inside. Okay, so okay, public void populate components. Okay, so there are two steps I need, because this actual populate list function will actually edit the list inside the component list class. So I'm going to use that because I don't want to rewrite code. Okay, this dot component collection dot populate list. Okay, now what am I going to do? I'm going to save it back to this component list right here. Okay, so this dot component list equals to this dot component collection dot list. Okay, so what am I doing here? I'm taking this list right here and I'm saving it to this list right here. Okay, that should about do it. Okay, only thing is that we don't have an ID right here. Okay, what's this? 53, line 53, argument 1 cannot convert from integer to component. Okay, right. Yeah, so this cannot be created by ID, you need to create it by component. Alright. Okay, everything seems to work. So now we are at 30 minutes. I think we are more or less ready to test this code, because we just coded the implementations of this IComponent repository interface. So we are saving the data within our random access memory. Okay, so this class will be declared during one HTTP request. Okay, and then once the web page is loaded, this class should disappear, but all the changes should be saved to this component collection right here. Okay, why are we doing it this way? Again, it's because Entity Framework Core likes to sort of do something like this also. We'll use a scoped service rather than a singleton. Okay, that's the way Entity Framework Core is designed to work. You have to use it as a scope service. So I want to get us used to living with a scope service first. Okay, hopefully after demonstration you get the logic of how this thing actually works. So I'm just going to save and I'm going to quit, and then let me do a git status here. Okay, everything else shouldn't. Okay, there's pages, so I'm going to go up and I'm going to git add pages, and I'm going to add the models as well. Git commit implemented IComponent repository in RAM pending tests. Okay, so that's it for this video. Hopefully next time we should be able to test this out, and hopefully there are not too many bugs. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye bye.